Get ready to take a look behind the scenes and enter the impossible for the Between Two Minds podcast with our hosts, Judge Mentalist and Bernardo Rodriguez. Can they really tell you what you're thinking?
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning if you're on the West Coast. Good evening if you're over there in the UK. This is Judge Mentalist. I am back without my co-host, Bernardo, as you've probably noticed from many of these between the Michigan Summit and leading up to PHS. He's generally not on these unless we are doing a breakdown of one of our shows or events. But I am back to talk to you again about the Performing Hypnosis Summit. And if you have been watching this podcast and these interviews since, September of last year, you're going to recognize a familiar face on the screen who was physically sitting beside me in Detroit, Michigan at the Michigan Hypnosis Conference. And because he is sharing these amazing talents, a similar talk, I believe, right, and demonstration at the upcoming Performing Hypnosis Summit. Your talk was very well attended at Michigan, and obviously what you're talking about, like many things that we do here, has crossover between those who take these talents into a room and do one-on-one therapeutic or clinical work, and those of us who jump up on stages or other entertainment type of formats to do this and do that work there. So Michael Brody, America's Fastest Hypnotist. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Nice to see you. I'm honored to be on the show. I hope everybody is doing well out there in Judge Mentalist land. And it is an exciting. I'm just incredibly pumped up that Judge decided to have me on his show. My life is just that much better now.
Awesome.
I can now say that I am going to be. I can now say I can probably be 90 years old now. I can say that it'll be one of the things off my bucket list. Thank you so very much, Judge.
So as hypnotists, we say a lot of shit that doesn't mean anything, and it's. Oh wait, was that a segue or a comment?
No, I meant that from my heart. What the hell? Are you crazy? You can tell by the way I part my hair how much truth I'm talking about. Okay,
all of it, all of the truth,
all of it.
So I obviously, we talked about Michigan in your talk afterwards, and for me, I learned a lot, and I'm actually, you'd think that this is the kind of thing it's like, okay, cool, I've learned that. Who's presenting when Michael's presenting? Because I got to go see the other one. No, I'm going to be in your room because it's the kind of thing that still I have not on a regular basis had the situations to put it into play, because I'm still almost entirely on stage. I'm still doing, while it's a shorter one than some do, but I'm doing the progressive muscle relaxations on stage 99% of the time. I have used the techniques that you taught me at Michigan in isolated situations with single people that were getting there but not quite there yet, and I'm like, I want to keep this person, so boom, let's go. Fantastic. But it's certainly, to me, one of those things where I'm excited to see you bringing this back, because as somebody who explains things and teaches things to people, I know that sometimes that even that talk from the same person, you might say something slightly different, or it hits a little different, and it just sinks in a little bit more. So for me, I'm looking for that. And there were also, like, what did you teach? 8 or 10 techniques?
About 8. I'm going to go with more of them because I'm on a 2-hour one, I think.
Okay, fantastic. There were about 2 or 3 that I really focused in on, which means that I wasn't fully dug in on the others. So I'm excited to kind of dig in more on those and then the new ones. But let's talk about you. What brings you here? What brings you to this platform? What are we going to talk about in a couple of weeks? I'm so excited. We are almost there.
I am very, very pumped up to come to the Performing Hypnosis Summit. I'm lucky that I'm going to be talking about the speed inductions. I'm also going to talk a little bit more, going in depth also, I'm going to, if people are out there and they're going to come to see the conference, I'm actually going to be talking about how you can tell the people you want to pick from either from the audience or they when they first come up, because hypnotizing people from the audience is just a wow factor. It's an amazing wow factor. But the most important thing is, especially as you have to find out, you have to be able to really find out who are right brain people, right brain creative people. There's ways to find those things out really, really fast by doing a few susceptibility tests. Just basically 2 susceptibility tests that I know of. One of us is just saying 5 questions, and the other one is just shaking hands with somebody. And there's a way to do that, and I'm going to show that at the class, the speed induction class. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through a whole bunch of different speed inductions, and we're going to I'll demonstrate it. We'll practice on each other. We'll go to different people and practice on each other. The object is to feel comfortable about this, and also I'm going to show you some new ones that I have that I didn't get to show the other times. Some of them are really, really, really fast, and I really, really think they're very, very cool, especially if you can find those people in the audience that are literally zoned in on you, that really want to be hypnotized. And that's the key to the whole thing. Now, I've also, what's even more interesting is having that rapport connection between the hypnotist and the volunteers in the audience, or people in the audience. And so you have to have a little bit of your personality shine through when you're talking to the audience to set them up, because really, honestly, the key to the whole thing is not the speed induction itself, it's the setup.
Yeah.
And when you if you can capture their attention in the setup, anyone can be hypnotized. It doesn't matter if they're left or right brained. They'll just drop. And that's the fun part about that, is to watch those kind of situations happen, is to show people how you can let their guard down and release the inner child really fast. So I'm going to be talking about that. I'm also going to do a virtual.
Oh, cool.
Yep, I'm going to do a virtual on how to up your game, just by using again, rapport, entering the stage, using props, using sound effects, using lighting, using energy transference, those kind of different things. I mean, right from the beginning. And I mean, it starts literally just from the music that you start with before you even go on. Setting the mood is the key to the whole thing.
Yeah, one of the things that I don't think that I see enough of, which I'm sure that you're going to talk about this to some extent, is, you know, and you'll see this, like, since we're in Vegas, I'll talk about, Kevin Lapine. You go into his showroom before the show, and there is a display on the screen, and it's going back and forth between things about hypnosis, about the show, what the expectations are, and then videos of testimonials. And a lot of people and a lot of performers will do stuff like this, especially in big theaters as you're coming in, because you don't want crickets in the room with people. You want that energy, you want to get that going. But I think a lot of people lose sight about how tailoring one of these properly primes the pump for everything that's going to come afterwards. And it's super, super, super. I mean, look, we talk about trying to do, work smarter, not harder, or some people will talk about stacking the deck in your favor. Well, guess what? It is your show. You make the rules. So stack away. Don't think, oh, that's cheating. No, give yourself and give your audience. This is, I think, the important perspective. Give your audience every advantage you can give them to get this party started. And and it is very much an advantage that you are giving to your audience, because as we know, and I have no idea when this goes out there and as this is out there live, who's viewing it. And there may be, and I assume many, many seasoned hypnotists that are seeing this who are like, all right, we already know this, of course. But there are probably people out there who are just getting into this for the first time and seeing it. Understand that your volunteer and your audience members, you're teaching them how to do this.
Correct.
That's how this all works. And everything that you can do to kind of put the training wheels on for them, it's going to help you, obviously, because you're the one with the spotlight on you, but it's going to help them and it's going to go smoother. And trust me, the better it goes, the better time they're going to have.
I agree. And the thing is, that's why we do these things. I mean, that's why PHS is around, and that's why we do it. That's why we talk. We do these talks on for seminars. I mean, sure, seasoned professionals are going to know all these different things, and seasoned professionals are going to see how you do it. And that's fine. And people who are just starting out are going to see how you do it. But the thing is that what we as hypnotists need to know and need to understand is that we are all different, just like any kind of people are all different. So all of us are approaching our shows in a different style of how we interpret entertainment, how we interpret what we want to do to portray happiness or the main theme of the show. So if you're a somber person and you want to set the tone somberly with low lighting in the beginning, that is absolutely your prerogative. And if you think you can get that fantastic part of the show like that, absolutely you go for it. The best shows that I've seen are the ones that you can tell that the hypnotist, that the character traits or personality of the hypnotist are flowing through the show, whether it's the intro or whether it's the communication between volunteers and the audience. I am a very personal guy. I'm a very I'm also into improvisation. I love improvisation. And because I love improvisation, I use that a lot to connect with the volunteers. So whatever comes out, you're also going to see expressions out of my face. Even though I could do the exact same suggestion 45 times, it's going to have a different reaction because different people are going to go under. And so I'm going to have to look like I'm reacting in a different way every single time. And I keep it fresh every single time. So it is like a show within a show within a show within a show.
Yeah.
It kind of makes people and that is another way to establish rapport. If one of the things that was told to me at a Christmas party, I was talking to somebody else and they were talking about Christmas parties are one of the hardest parties to do, which is true because you're going into it they're not coming to see you. You're just the entertainment. So you have to establish yourself. But one of the things that someone said to me is they said, I've never seen anybody so relaxed and just going with the flow and wanting to get to know people. And that's what they said to me. I said,
that is so important though, in that context. And for anybody who's never done one of these types of shows, let's just break it down to the key components. You, the outsider, showing up to a room full of people who not only know each other, but have known each other for, in many cases, an extensive period of time. And the one fact, and sure, there might be some spouses and significant others and mistresses or whatever you brought with you that are a little bit in the mix, or adult children or whoever. But here's the key thing that a lot of people don't realize in that dynamic is that for you, the entertainer who was hired for that night, there is no tomorrow.
Right.
They don't care what they do in front of you, but that whole room of people, that pre-existing dynamic has a tomorrow, at least for half of them, you know, and that is sometimes in the back of people's minds. So getting there early, schmoozing with everybody, intermixing in the crowd, becoming part of that, injecting yourself into that and breaking that dynamic. You want to succeed in some of the toughest shows? Well, start there. Know your people, build that rapport.
I agree totally. And that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks beginning hypnotists have, because they keep thinking that they have to follow a certain script. They have to follow this and to the letter. And then eventually when they learn that they've mastered their show, then they start relaxing. And the minute they start relaxing and realizing that, all right, the formula to do a great show, you have to have confidence in yourself. You have to have confidence in your show. And the minute you do that, that's when everything starts breaking down. And all of a sudden you can start being yourself and being social and having a lot of fun. And
I'll tell you what really does that for people, or at least what did it for me in the first year or whatever of my doing this, was every time shit went wrong. Every time something went wrong, and I'm almost to the point where on video I have enough to do an entire lecture just about what happens when stuff goes sideways. It really tells you, and this is, again, this is coming from the perspective of somebody who was brand new not long ago. Okay, that's not as important as I thought it was. Right. That's not as important as I thought it was. And I could do this 85 different ways. You taught 8 or so speed inductions in Michigan, and they're going to teach those and more. And guess what? There are more. There are more ways to do it. I've had somebody sitting in the front row of a show outdoors, or one of these fair shows, and I just caught this look and this vibe from her. And I kind of stopped what I'm doing. And I hadn't started my induction for everybody up there. I was getting everybody settled in and moving people around and doing all that stuff. And I caught this glimpse of her, and I just locked eyes with her. And I'm like, the way you're looking at me right now, you want to be up here. And I just drilled in. And the next thing I know, she's just there. And just nobody fucking taught me that, pardon my French, like that. It just, like you said, improv, like what we're doing up here is to a large extent improv.
Absolutely.
Not just in the skits portion.
Yep. That's why you have to be able to go with flow. Absolutely. 100%. So the people who are the best are the people who are the best stage hypnotist or comedy hypnotist or whatever you want to call us. Those are the people who understand theater, who understand how a theater production works in the ways of ebbing and flowing and having the laughter grow and subside and have it as a journey through and not just the volunteers but the audience to go through that journey into imagination and follow that process from the beginning to end. And yes, involving the audience into it. That's one of the reasons why I do a lot of one of the things I do a lot of gifts. I give a lot of gifts away. And I tell that before I even bring people up. I'm going to give a lot of gifts away. And people go, brand new car? I said no. But
I think they paid me to do this show.
Yeah, really. Sure. Everybody's all of a sudden everybody's up on stage. It's amazing. But I tell them I'm going to give gifts away and everybody's going to get involved and everything like that. And they're all suckered in. They feel like they're ready to go. And that is the sign of a really good entertainer. Doesn't even have to be a hypnotist. It's an entertainer, because that's exactly what we do. We entertain. We inform. While we're entertaining, we're informing. while we're entertaining, the people who are volunteering are discovering about themselves, discovering about relationships about themselves and how they can relate to other people. They don't even think about the audience. The people who are in the audience are learning, are not only being entertained, but they're learning about hypnosis and all these different things. And so that, I mean, it's a multi-facet evening of learning and educating. And if it's done right, everybody benefits.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
So that's kind of stuff I've learned throughout my olden years.
Yeah, I have found it to be an exciting adventure every time you set out on that journey. And it's something that early on I always thought it was so cool that, hey, look, I'm doing 2 shows at the same time, one for these folks and one for those folks. And I realized, within a short period of time, I'm like, no. I am doing so many more than just 2 shows, because each one of these folks up here is having their own experience and their own, every little thing. And what that did, you talk about, crafting a show that has kind of a progression and a flow to it. And one of the important things, you overall, if you were to look at it from, kind of a zoomed out, you want this energy to rise and this build and this grow, but it can't be like the guy on The Price is Right that was eventually going to fall off the mountain if you went too far. There's got to be some breathing room in there for your audience, and a little opportunity at certain times for them to take a break. And that's where I really learned to say, hey, this is when you shift gears and create more of a dynamic experience and an adventure, so to speak, for your volunteers on stage, which may not be like balls to the wall exciting for your audience, but you're kind of giving them that reset that they will need at the right time in the show to then, all right, let's kick it back into gear and get going. And it just, man, I've seen some weird stuff since I started doing that. And you just, the conversations, my favorite part a lot of times is conversations that I have with folks. How did you do that? I thought I was really there. Like a lot of people, a popular routine that many performers will do is, Martian language or alien language and an interpreter and all this other stuff. I get there, but I put them on Mars. They start a rocket ship, they're on the planet. And at this point, we've had so much build and energy in there that's where I take that break. And I'm like, hey, everybody stand up, look around. You can see all this different flora and fauna and little animals. Feel free, reach out, touch it, take it in. I mean, you're breathing this air on Mars for the very first time. Nobody's ever been here. And I have people come up to, how did you take me there? Where was I? They really think they were somewhere else, and they were just up on that stage with me. And it just, you get such, when you shift that gear and really start tuning in, to me, that was a bit of a game changer where, like, I've always had great reactions and great response from people coming off of stage, but it was a different level when those folks were going somewhere that, for all intents and purposes, from our perspective, doesn't exist. I mean, it's there, but like, we've never really been there. So wild stuff.
Yeah, let's face it. We are the ultimate storytellers.
Yeah.
That is what we do. I mean, we're so good at it that we use adjectives so much to describe what we need, what we're looking for, and all we need to do as a hypnotist is to find people who have a very good imagination, and that's the easy part. I mean, it's all easy. You just have to find those people who have a good imagination, and then just describe it for them. And then you don't even have to push them. They just go there and do their own thing. And that's what makes it all funny, especially when they react to each other about it. So absolutely. It is.
And listen, if you've done these shows, but you haven't experienced that feeling and that recognition that everybody on stage is somewhere different, do some dance routines. Do some dance routines in which you're not giving a tremendous amount of direction as to how you want them to dance, and see where their minds go and where their bodies follow. And you're going to start to see, because that in one of my shows early on was that point where I was like, I never told these people to do that. And I had people start a kick line on my stage. And that was really, for me, I think, the light bulb moment of, yeah, because they're just drawing off of whatever's in their head. You know, they're taking the minimal amount of push to go in the direction that I'm sending them in, and then they're filling in all of the gaps.
And I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing with America's Top Model.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're walking the runway and they're posing, and or if I have someone being being Mr. Universe and they're pumping the muscles and stuff like that, and they're doing all their stuff. So yeah, I agree. It is a wonderful. It's so incredible how the mind works. It really is. And we have that option to as elder, so to speak. I know I'll speak for myself. Elder hypnotists, that we can give people the opportunity, because usually what happens is at the end of the show, people always come up to me and ask me questions, you know, like, how the heck did that happen? How did you do that? I mean, I do the gimmick where you see your favorite celebrity and stuff like that, and how in the world did you do that? I said, then I asked them, I said, did you see me? They go, yeah. I said, did you see your favorite celebrity? They go, oh yeah. I said, who did you want to see more? Well, my favorite celebrity. I said, okay, but I was still there. Yeah, but it was a celebrity. Oh my gosh. So that's the key to the whole thing. I mean, it's a learning experience. How incredible the brain works, how incredible the imagination is. And what we're doing as hypnotists, we are teaching people how to utilize that imagination
For sure.
to its fullest. How many years, by the way, Judge, how many years have you been doing this?
Hypnosis proper?
Yeah.
Like 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Okay. So
I've been doing mentalism and stage performances for years before that. But it was only 2 years ago that I learned all of this. And within a month did my first show. And I completely head over heels fell in love with it, because for me, and I think that there's a lot of us like this that are truly to our core introverts, but we have this interest in entertaining. Now, I know that doesn't seem to reconcile, but it does if you're there. And to, you know, even though the way that I had crafted my mentalism shows then, it was not like the look what I can do type of magician stuff, but at the same time, it was still about me.
Right.
And learning to do this, which is a way where now I'm more of the guide and the facilitator, and I'm here, and you know that I'm doing this, but these are the folks that are really the party. I'm just opening the door and letting them all in.
Exactly.
And, you know, for me and my personality, that just, it just struck such a chord. And, you know, I still vividly have memories of the very, very, very first show that I did. No training wheels, no nothing. And that moment of, you know, the napkins in my hand are no longer just napkins. They're $100 bills, blah, 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 blah. And that first time, eyes open, looking at me, pump that music, and I toss those napkins in the air, and I can still vividly see the outstretched arms, the people coming out of their seats, the eyes opening up big. And it's a high that I'll chase for the rest of my career. Like I always go back to that. And that was kind of the moment where it was like, oh yeah, we're having some fun here. And it's just been no turning back since. It's funny because my wife told me after that show, her and her mother were in the audience, and they're like, I'm not going to lie to you, because I went to Vegas, I trained, I came home, I talked about it, but you know, when you're first starting, you don't hypnotize family members, you don't hypnotize friends, you don't hypnotize people who have known you every other day of your life until today, not as a hypnotist. You don't start there. So they had never seen me do this, and they're like, not gonna lie, we were sitting here before the show talking to each other. If this doesn't work, do we leave to the left or do we leave to the right? And I was like, and now you realize the double-edged sword that you had in your hand there. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you either had to deal with the situation you just described there, or everything went the way that it did. And now you got to deal with me not wanting to do anything but this. And that's where we are now.
Yes.
I mean, before learning this, I was actively trying to quit my career and run away and join the circus. And now it's like, I'll take the circus wherever I want to go.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this full time too.
Yeah.
So, because I enjoy it so much, and I'm learning constantly and doing what I enjoy and having a blast doing it. So,
well, I love that you're not only learning constantly, but gracious enough to share with others. It's super important that we continue to do this and share with others and just build this profession and just make it something that, you know, I look at every single one of these gigs before I go on stage and I say, look, am I going to set myself up to get rebooked here? Mm-hmm. B, if Michael Brody or somebody like him approaches this venue in 6 months, how easy or difficult am I making it for Michael to book a show doing hypnosis on this stage? And then number 3, these audience members are going to go and they're going to have their tomorrows, and then they're going to see somebody somewhere doing a hypnosis show. Have I left an impression in their mind that makes them want to go or run from that show? And, you know, if I'm selling tickets for other people because they had a great experience with me, I've done my job. And everything else top to bottom. So
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to reconvening with you in just a couple weeks. I mean, it's just over 2 weeks until we hopefully. What is the weather like in Vegas? Well, warmer than it is here because I'm
70s, I think.
And all I see is snow. So I'll take it. Whatever they give me, I'll take it.
And
it's cool.
Same with Michigan, so trust me.
Exactly. All right, everybody, performinghypnosissummit.com information. And hey, I'm going to, if you are seeing this on YouTube, or if you're not seeing this, go find it on YouTube, because by the time you see this in the item description, I'm also going to throw a link back to the last time that Michael and I were chatting when we were in Michigan. That way you don't have to dig. I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate you digging through my YouTube and watching each and every video, but I'm going to make it easy for you. The link to the PHS Summit, if you want to register, if you haven't yet, it's down there. Some of you might still be on the fence, because I actually had somebody reach out to me after one of the other interviews that I did and say, hey, I was on the fence. That interview made me register. So maybe this is the one that's going to make you register. Absolutely a tool that you're going to want in your hypnosis toolbox if you don't already.
If you can't register, if you can't register, if you can't come in person, you can always come virtually. So
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much. See you in a couple of weeks, Michael. Be well, and everybody be safe out there.
All right. Take care of yourself.
Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media under Between Two Minds with the number 2 instead of TWO, or under Enter the Impossible. Thank you, and we hope to see you back for the next episode.